Matrix, thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to enter the competition so you can stand yourself a chance to win data. Thank you so much, Tando, and over to you.
Thank you, Luni. Welcome back, boys and girls, to the last segment of our revision session. Right, we are going to do our higher order questions, question 4.4 and also 4.5. I encourage you guys to stick around because before the end of the session, I'm going to give you guys typical essay questions that you can expect in your paper 2 exam. Let's look at the first question. It says, briefly discuss productive inefficiency and allocative inefficiency in terms of market failure. So you are asked here to discuss productive inefficiency and also allocative inefficiency in terms of market failure there. For this type of a question, boys and girls, you need to make sure that you give a balanced response. Make sure you tackle productive inefficiency and also tackle allocative inefficiency. If you just tackle one, you are only going to get part marks. You are not going to get full. So make sure you attempt both productive and allocative there. All right, let's start by looking at productive inefficiency. Productive inefficiency, this is when businesses do not maximize output from given inputs there. So basically, this is when a business is experiencing a wastage there. So when there is wastage of resources in terms of production there. Again, let's look at another point. It says a business does not produce goods at the lowest possible cost. So when we are experiencing high production costs there, that is productive inefficiency. And then the next point says there is room to reduce costs without producing fewer goods or without producing a lower quality good. So basically with productive inefficiency, what it means is you can be able as a business to lower your productive cost per unit, number one, without compromising on quality, and also secondly, without reducing the quantity of the goods that you are producing there. So that is productive inefficiency. Now let's go look at allocative inefficiency. When we speak of allocative inefficiency, it is when the product mix does not reflect consumers' tastes or what consumers are desiring, or the product mix does not meet the demand of consumers there. For example, let's say the people in a particular economy are desiring more of product A, but when we are supplying them with more of product B there, the people are demanding, let's say, schools, and maybe we provide them with stadiums, for example. That is allocative inefficiency there. We are not allocating the product that meets consumers' tastes and preferences there. Right? Number two, it says businesses are allocated resources inefficiently and produce goods and services that consumers do not want there. So when the resources are allocated inefficiently there, and at the end of the day, we end up producing goods and services that do not meet consumer needs and wants there. Then finally, we can talk about the quantities required by the consumers are not available. So the quantities of the products that we require as consumers are not available there. That is allocative inefficiency there. Like I said, guys, you would be given a maximum of 4 for this particular segment, just for allocative inefficiency, and you also get a maximum of 4 for productive inefficiency there. So make sure that your response is balanced for this type of questions there. A good starting point would be probably to draw. You can draw a T or a table, and then you explain your points separately. You have your allocative inefficiency on this side, your productive inefficiency on this side, and then you draw your comparisons and you explain them typically so that you are able to keep track of what you have explained and what you haven't explained them. All right, let's go to the next question. It says, evaluate the impact of imperfect competition on consumers. Evaluate the impact of imperfect competition to consumers. Again, it's another 8 marks. Remember, I said 8-mark questions are very important as they are crucial in you obtaining maximum points in the exam there. So if it's an evaluate question in the exam, you need to give successes and failures there. You need also to outline the positives and the negatives there. Or you can also explain the good and the bad there. Then at the end, you need to be able to draw a conclusion of whatever your conclusion is. There is no typical right or wrong answer there, as long as you are able to support your point, or you are able to support your answer with valid points there. So this is an evaluate the impact of imperfect competition on consumers there. Let's go look at the possible solution. We have got, let's start with the negative impact, like I said. Right, let's look at the negative impact. Let me go back to the question. Evaluate the impact of imperfect competition on consumers there. It's very important that you highlight the impact to consumers there, right? It says, most businesses operating in imperfect markets maximize profits by supplying less and the optimal quantity of goods and services produced, which means that some consumers' needs may not be met there. So for imperfect markets, in most cases, you would find in order for them to maximize profits, they produce less. And at the end of the day, some consumers' needs may not be met there. That is the first point. Second point, reduced quantities lead to higher prices, which may exclude lower income groups there. Right, so that's the second one. Imperfect markets normally charge higher prices. Let's go to the third one. It says new businesses sometimes are prevented from entering the industry, thereby it limits competition. There is a limit of competition, and it prevents consumers from enjoying lower prices and also a variety of goods and services there. So again, as a result of preventing of new businesses there is limited choice for consumers and prices are usually higher. Let's look at the fourth one. Collusion, which is normally rife in oligopoly markets, results in higher prices, which at times prevents some consumers from affording the product there. So when we speak of collusion there, this is when two or more of the businesses, they come together, they limit quantity, and they increase the price there. Again, they are taking advantage of consumers, like I've already said there. Let's continue. We're still looking at our negative impact. It says consumers pay higher prices in the imperfect markets due to the fact that production does not take place at the lowest point of the long run average cost curve there. That is our LAC there, at the lowest point of our LAC there. Right, so normally, again, we're still explaining the higher prices there. To say imperfect markets or consumers normally pay higher there because these guys are not efficient in terms of production there. Those are some of the negative effects. Like I said earlier on, remember, if you are discussing the negative and the positive, make sure you also give a balanced view there. Right, let's go to the next one. Now we are looking at positive impacts. Right now we are looking at positive impacts. Right, the first one says imperfect markets can stabilize supply, especially or output of certain goods and services that require a vast amount of capital, ensuring a variety of goods and services is available to consumers. Right, in most cases you would find that our oligopolies and our monopolies are big businesses with a big capital base, hence they are able to provide goods and services that small businesses might not be able to produce there. This gives a variety to our consumers. Again, let's look at the second one. It says imperfect markets also provide a better quality of product to consumers. Large corporations have got research and development units that constantly develop new technology and improved production methods there. So these guys are able to provide better quality there. That's another positive there. Let's go to the third one. Patent rights give patent holders exclusive rights to produce products, and this stimulates innovation and inventions there that could benefit consumers there. So there is continuous improvement because these guys have got patent rights there, so they've got the exclusive right to manufacture certain goods and services. I can give you an example of our cell phone manufacturers there. There is continuous improvement in terms of their product offering there. They continuously upgrade their product to consumers. So this benefits consumers. And then finally, that is that, guys. So basically, this is how you approach an 8-mark question, especially if it's an evaluate. Right, before I go, boys and girls, I need to just explain quickly to you guys that you need to be comfortable with the typical essay questions that you can expect in your final exams, especially as far as paper 2 is concerned. Remember, there is a lot of drawing you can expect in your paper 2. So I encourage you, boys and girls, to be very comfortable with your graphs, right? For example, remember the equilibrium position of a perfect market is a typical graph that you can expect in the final exam. So you need to be able to explain your normal profit, your economic profit, your normal loss in the case of a perfect market. You also need to be able to explain the supply curve and the shutdown point of a perfect market. You also need to be able to explain the profit maximization in the case of a perfect market there. Right, again, when it comes to imperfect markets, you need to be able to explain the kinked demand curve of an oligopoly. You also need to be able to explain the various equilibrium positions of imperfect markets there. Draw similarities with a perfect market where you can, and also show differences with a perfect market where you can there. Another hot question, especially in terms of drawing differences there or showing differences, is they normally ask you, why is it that the MR lies below the AR, especially in a monopoly graph there? You need to be able, and you need to be comfortable there. Again, for an essay, you need also to be able to compare between a perfect market and any imperfect market structure there. So be able to explain by means of words, right, the differences between a perfect market and any other imperfect market structure. Right, finally, you also need to be able to explain market failure, reasons for market failure, and also effects of market failure. Where you need to draw the graphs, remember to draw. I encourage you guys, make sure you've got an eraser in the exam, you've got a pencil in the exam, especially for paper 2, and also you've got a calculator, so that when need be, you are able to draw the correct graphs there. Just before I go, boys and girls, remember the night of the exam, go to bed early so that you get enough rest. Read instructions carefully. You need to read your instructions carefully. Know how many questions you need to answer per section there. Manage your time. This is very important. Not only are you tested for content in the exam, but you're also tested for time. I wish you, boys and girls, nothing but the best. I hope you produce to the best of your abilities. Over to you, Luni.
Thank you, Tando. Matrix, we're wishing you everything of the best for your exams. Don't forget to use our study resources to help you prepare. Send us your questions and comments so that we can assist you as best as we can. Congratulations to all of the competition winners who will be announced on Facebook after the show. For our schedule and study resources, visit www.wasamatrix.co.za. And if you missed any of our lessons, please check them out on our YouTube channel. From me, Luni, Pearl, and Tando, thank you and goodbye.